Did Shekinah just expose Tiny's darkest family secrets in court? The moment that shocked the world is finally here. In a courtroom thick with tension, Shekinah stands and reveals a side of Tiny's family no one ever saw coming. What if everything we thought we knew about Tiny's world was a lie? What if the people closest to her were hiding secrets that could destroy everything? Tiny, once a symbol of success and strength, now finds herself at the center of a storm filled with betrayal, heartbreak, and scandal. What began as a personal dispute has spiraled into something much deeper than anyone imagined. Tiny's once close-knit family now appears to be crumbling from within. The truth is uglier than anyone expected, and it's all unfolding in front of millions. But what drove Shekinah to expose these dark secrets? Was it a desperate grab for attention, or something even darker brewing beneath the surface? The courtroom is in chaos. The world is watching. The truth is about to come out, and it's not pretty. The room is packed, the air heavy with tension. On one side sits Tiny, her back straight, her face calm, but her eyes betraying the storm inside. Her thoughts race, each heartbeat echoing like thunder. Across the room, Shekinah sits poised and composed, her posture relaxed, but her eyes cold. The two women, once inseparable friends, now face each other as rivals in a battle that will change their lives forever. Tiny never thought this day would come. She had always believed Shekinah was family, a sister in every sense of the word. Their bond had been built on years of laughter, struggle, and trust. But now, that bond feels like a fragile thread ready to snap. For weeks, Tiny tried to ignore the whispers, the rumors swirling online and in tabloids. The headlines hinted at something big, something personal. Tiny's family name was being dragged through the mud. The accusations were vague, but the message was clear. This wasn't just another celebrity feud, it was personal, and it was devastating. She told herself it was all just gossip, but deep down, she knew today would bring the truth crashing down. Shekinah, once Tiny's closest confidant, had made her choice. She had picked this moment to uncover what had been buried for years. And no matter how much Tiny tried to prepare, nothing could ready her for what was coming. The judge's gavel struck the block with a sharp thud. The courtroom fell silent. All eyes turned to Shekinah. The tension was suffocating. Every breath held in anticipation. The defense attorney stood and motioned for her to take the stand. As Shekinah walked forward, the room felt colder. There was no hesitation, no sign of fear. Her face was unreadable, calm, resolved, as if she had already accepted the chaos she was about to unleash. As she sat down, Shekinah gave a small, almost imperceptible glance in Tiny's direction. That brief moment of eye contact sent an involuntary chill down Tiny's spine. It wasn't a look of anger nor one of regret. It was something far more dangerous: determination. Shekinah was ready to expose everything. The courtroom was deathly silent as she adjusted herself in the witness chair. The defense attorney wasted no time. "Miss Shekinah," he began, his voice calm but carrying the weight of the moment. "You've been asked to testify today regarding certain events within Tiny's family. We understand you have knowledge of sensitive information. Can you please tell us what you know?" Shekinah nodded, her eyes never leaving the lawyer's face. "What I know," she began, her voice cool but layered with something deeper, something darker, "is that Tiny's family is not what it appears to be." She paused, letting the words sink in. The courtroom froze, every person hanging on her every syllable. Tiny's heart skipped a beat. The air around her seemed to grow thicker, pressing down on her chest like it might suffocate her. She never imagined Shekinah would go this far. "The things that happen behind closed doors," Shekinah continued, her eyes now flickering to Tiny. "The secrets they keep, they're worse than you think. There's a reason Tiny's been so guarded about her family. And there's a reason no one ever really knows the truth. But today, the world will." Tiny's hands clenched into fists in her lap. Heat rose in her chest. Anger, confusion, disbelief swirling all at once. Was this really happening? Was Shekinah about to destroy everything she'd worked so hard to protect? The defense attorney pressed further. "Can you be more specific, Miss Shekinah? What exactly are these secrets?" She leaned forward slightly in her chair, her eyes narrowing. Tiny's family isn't just dysfunctional, she said, her tone steady and cutting. It's riddled with betrayal, greed, and lies. She paused again, making sure her words landed with maximum impact. There's something that's been hidden for years, a betrayal deeper than anyone realizes. Tiny's own sister has been secretly working with outsiders to profit off her name. And it goes even deeper. There are deals, partnerships, things Tiny never knew about, things she would have never agreed to if she had. A wave of nausea hit Tiny's stomach. Her sister? How could this be happening? The accusations were too specific, too precise to dismiss as gossip. Shekinah wasn't just making wild claims. She was exposing something that had been buried from the public for years. The weight of it all pressed down on Tiny like a 1,000-pound burden, suffocating her. The defense attorney's voice trembled slightly with disbelief. Are you saying that Tiny's sister was secretly profiting off her name without her knowledge? That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof of this? Shekinah's lips curled into a small, knowing smile. I don't need proof, she said coldly. All I need is for the truth to be heard. And the truth will set everyone free. Tiny's heart raced as she tried to make sense of what was happening. Shekinah had gone too far. This wasn't just a betrayal of friendship. This was the tearing apart of Tiny's entire family. Secrets that had been buried for years were clawing their way to the surface. The room seemed to close in around her. Whispers rippled through the crowd, murmurs of disbelief, the rustle of papers, hushed tones of shock. Tiny's world, everything she had built and was crumbling before her eyes. Shekinah's testimony wasn't just damaging, it was devastating. And it was only the beginning. The courtroom was in chaos. Tiny's mind spun as Shekinah's words echoed louder than anything else. The accusations, the betrayal, her family, her closest relationships, all laid bare like open wounds. For a moment, she could barely process what had just been said. She could feel the weight of every stare, the eyes of strangers, reporters, even old friends, all locked on her. The whispers grew louder, sharper, crueler. And in that moment, Tiny felt completely alone. But she couldn't back down. Not now. Not when everything she had worked for was on the line. Tiny rose from her seat, trembling as the defense attorney motioned for her to take the stand. Her legs felt like lead, each step heavier than the last. She had to face Shekinah, to confront the lies, the pain, and the truth that threatened to destroy her. Tiny had always been the one to keep her emotions in check, to maintain that image of strength. But today, that image was cracking before the entire world. As Tiny approached the witness stand, Shekinah's gaze never wavered. There was no remorse in her eyes, no hesitation. Tiny could feel the weight of that cold stare as she took her seat, her heart pounding so hard it almost drowned out the noise around her. The judge called for order as Tiny gripped the edge of the stand, her palms slick with sweat. Her breath came fast, uneven, but she forced herself to steady it. She had to stay strong. She had to fight back. The defense attorney, who moments ago had guided Shekinah's testimony, now turned his attention to Tiny. His eyes held a mix of curiosity and skepticism. It was clear he wasn't convinced by Shekinah's claims, but he wanted to hear Tiny's side. Tiny, he began, you've heard the accusations made against your family. Can you explain your side of the story? Is there any truth to what Shekinah has revealed? Tiny drew in a deep breath. The weight of the question pressed down on her, but she had to answer. She had to protect herself and her family. No, she said firmly, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. I don't believe Shekinah's accusations are true. Yes, we've had struggles. There have been misunderstandings. But to say my family is built on betrayal, that's a lie. Her words came out sharp, deliberate. The only thing anchoring her in this moment of chaos. But even as Tiny spoke, doubt began to creep in. Could Shekinah really be lying? Could everything she'd just exposed be fabricated? I don't know what her motivation is, Tiny continued, her voice trembling now. But I do know my family isn't perfect. We've had our issues, but this is not who we are. She glanced toward her sister, sitting quietly in the back of the courtroom. Tiny could barely meet her eyes. Her sister's expression was unreadable, but there was something there. a flicker of guilt or fear. Tiny couldn't tell which. But one thing was clear: her sister was somehow involved. Could it really be true? Had her sister been hiding something from her all this time? The defense attorney leaned forward, pressing further. But what about Shekinah's claims that your sister profited from your name without your knowledge? Were you aware of any of these deals? Any hidden partnerships? Tiny's heart sank. The idea of her sister secretly profiting off her name felt like a punch to the gut. She had trusted her completely, with her brand, her business, her life. But could Shekinah be right? Had Tiny been too blind to see what was happening behind her back? I don't know, Tiny admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I had no idea. If these things are true, then I'm just as much a victim as everyone else. But I swear to you, I never knew about any of it. Her hands trembled as she clasped them tightly together, trying to steady herself. Tiny had always prided herself on staying in control, calm under pressure. But this was something she couldn't control. She couldn't fix what was happening in this courtroom. She couldn't undo the damage already done. And just when she thought she couldn't take any more, another bombshell dropped. The prosecution, silent until now, finally stood. The prosecutor's voice was calm, but every word cut like glass. Tiny, she began. We've also received information about an alleged financial agreement involving your sister, several investors, and a series of transactions that could put your reputation at risk. How do you explain that? Tiny froze. The world seemed to tilt beneath her feet. She had no idea what the prosecutor was talking about. Could this be another twist of Shekinah's manipulation? Or was this something real? Something her sister had done behind her back? I don't know about that, Tiny stammered, struggling to keep her composure. I had no idea any of this was going on. The prosecutor didn't back down. Then how do you explain the evidence that has come to light? Are you saying your sister acted completely without your knowledge, without your approval? Tiny felt cornered, the weight of every stare pressed down on her. The eyes of the jury, the press, even Shekinah's cold, unblinking gaze. The accusations hung in the air like smoke, suffocating her. The evidence presented in court was overwhelming. Everything was starting to look like the truth. Tiny's mind raced as she tried to piece it all together. She wanted to defend her sister, to defend her family, but the evidence against them was piling up fast. Could Shekinah have been right all along? In that moment, Tiny realized she was no longer in control of her own story. The truth was slipping through her fingers, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. The courtroom fell silent, broken only by faint whispers and the shuffling of papers. The tension was unbearable, heavy like the air before a storm. Tiny could feel her world collapsing, and all she could do was brace herself for the next revelation. Her heart pounded violently in her chest as the prosecutor's words hung in the air like a heavy fog. It felt as though the walls were closing in around her. Every pair of eyes in the room seemed to study her, every twitch, every breath, waiting for her to crack. The weight of the evidence was undeniable, tangible, and damning. Shekinah's testimony had already shaken the foundation of Tiny's world, but now, the revelations about her sister's secret dealings, the hidden financial agreements, the whispered betrayals, made Tiny feel as if she were sinking in quicksand. She glanced toward her sister, still seated in the back of the courtroom. Her sister's face was blank, unreadable. She hadn't spoken a single word during the entire ordeal. But Tiny could see it. Something had changed. Her sister had always been her closest ally, the one who understood her better than anyone else. But now, there was distance. A coldness. Something that made Tiny's chest tighten with fear. Sensing Tiny's vulnerability, the prosecutor pressed harder. Tiny, she said firmly, this evidence isn't just a misunderstanding. These financial transactions have your sister's name all over them, and it's clear they've been happening right under your nose. How do you explain that? Was it all just a lie? Tiny's throat tightened. She tried to speak, but the words caught in her chest. How could she explain something she didn't understand? How could she defend her family when even she didn't know the full truth? I don't know, Tiny whispered, her voice barely audible. I didn't know any of this was happening." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Tiny could hear the low hum of whispers, disbelief, judgment, pity. Her reputation, built on years of hard work, sacrifice, and loyalty, was slipping away with every passing second. The betrayal was no longer private. It was public, and the whole world was watching. Tiny's mind raced, flashes of memory flooding her thoughts. Every moment she had trusted her sister, every secret they had shared, every time she had said, "We're in this together." Now she wasn't so sure anymore. The late-night talks, the shared dreams, the plans for the future, all of it replayed in Tiny's mind like a cruel joke. She had always believed her family would stand by her, no matter what. But as the pieces fell into place, she realized how wrong she'd been. What cut the deepest wasn't just the betrayal. It was that Shekinah, the woman who had once been like a sister to her, was the one who had torn everything apart. Shekinah had exposed her family's darkest secrets, revealing things Tiny never could have imagined. Now Tiny was trapped in the web of lies Shekinah had spun. Tiny turned toward her, eyes burning with anger, betrayal, and disbelief. She wanted to scream, to demand answers. But there were no words left. Everything that could be said had already been said. The damage was done. The truth, or at least Shekinah's version of it, was now out in the open. Just when Tiny thought the day couldn't get worse, the judge finally spoke. His voice was calm but carried the weight of something devastating. "I've reviewed the documents presented," he said, "and I believe it's necessary to address the next crucial piece of evidence. This involves financial transfers that not only implicate Tiny's sister, but also several known business partners connected to this operation for years. These connections may reveal the full scope of what's really been happening." Tiny's breath caught in her throat. Her sister, involved with shady partners? It was unthinkable. Corruption, deceit, dishonesty. Things she had never associated with her family were suddenly staring her in the face. Across the room, Shekinah sat motionless, her expression unreadable, almost satisfied, as though everything was unfolding exactly as she had planned. Tiny's stomach twisted. How could Shekinah remain so calm, so cold, knowing the pain she'd caused? "Your Honor," the prosecutor interjected, "we believe this connection between Tiny's family and these outside investors points to potential fraud and possibly criminal activity. This isn't just a family dispute anymore. It's a matter of law, and it cannot be ignored." Tiny felt the floor tilt beneath her. This wasn't just scandal. It was destruction. Her family's name, their legacy, her life. Everything was collapsing under the weight of the evidence. Had her sister truly been involved in criminal acts all along? Or was she just another pawn in someone else's game? The judge called for a recess. Silence fell across the courtroom, thick and suffocating. Tiny could barely breathe. Her sister stood at the center of the storm, and Shekinah's accusations, once unthinkable, were now backed by hard evidence. How could Tiny fight something so massive? How could she protect what little was left of her family? As the gavel struck, Tiny rose on unsteady legs. The courtroom blurred around her. She couldn't stay, not with every eye fixed on her, not with the truth pressing down on her chest. She needed air. She needed space. She needed to understand how everything she believed in had just come undone. Tiny rushed out of the courtroom, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. She didn't know where she was going. She just needed to escape. The walls felt too close, the whispers too loud. Out in the hallway, she pressed her back against the cold wall and gasped for air. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She wouldn't give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her break. Not here, not now. But even as she tried to steady her breathing, one question echoed in her mind. The same one everyone in that courtroom was asking. Who's really telling the truth? Is Shay exposing the truth out of righteousness? Or is this revenge, cold and calculated? Is Tiny's family really hiding dark secrets? Or are they being framed by someone far more manipulative? Tiny's world was collapsing, and the lines between loyalty and deceit had blurred beyond recognition. We've all witnessed the explosive revelations inside that courtroom, and if you think it's over, think again. The truth is unraveling faster than anyone imagined, and every new piece of evidence only makes the story darker. So what do you think? Is Shay justified in exposing Tiny's family, or is she playing a dangerous game for her own gain? Could Tiny's sister truly be part of these shady dealings, or is she just another victim caught in a web of betrayal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this story is dividing everyone. Was this betrayal born inside the family, or has Shay twisted the truth to destroy them from the outside? Let's keep the conversation going, because this saga is far from over. Don't forget to hit that like button if you believe the truth is never as simple as it seems, and subscribe for the next explosive chapter in this shocking scandal. The courtroom may be on recess, but the real drama is only just beginning. Stay tuned, the next chapter is coming soon, and it's going to be bigger than anyone ever expected.